Hey everyone, Theo here. Today I'm reviewing the Bigme B7, which is a 7-inch color ePaper tablet with an e-ink display. And in this video, I'm going to use e-ink and ePaper interchangeably. So this tablet also has pen support, and this tablet also has cellular support. First of all, disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by the company, and in this video I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. The price of this tablet at the time of review is $299 and that includes a flip case and this pen. The Bigme B7 is actually an upgrade over the previous model, the Bigme B7 51C, which was released towards the end of 2024. So now, almost 6 months later, we have a tablet with better specifications. The RAM has increased from 4 gigs to 8 gigs. Storage capacity has increased from 64 gigs to 128 gigs, and there is a micro SD card reader. Android version has increased from 11 to 14. Battery capacity has increased from 2,300 to 3,000 mAh. There is now 4G cellular support, and there is a camera now. And the included flip case has a better design because there is now this flap here, which can prevent the pen from dislodging accidentally. So this new tablet has many good upgrades. Alright, as usual, let me give you the bottom line up front. This is a beautiful tablet. It's compact, portable, it's well made, build quality is solid, has pen support. This tablet uses a color e-ink display, and the color quality will vary depending on which color mode or refresh mode you use. So this is the default color mode, and the colors are slightly less saturated. If I switch over to the magazine mode, you can see the colors now look more saturated. But the downside with, or the compromise with better colors is the page flip animation is going to be more noticeable, and there will be more noticeable ghosting. But you can swipe up using the shortcut here to redraw the page to get better colors. For reading text, the text looks good. The text looks sharp enough. If you look really close, you can actually see some grain on the e-ink canvas, which to me is not really a big issue when I'm holding the tablet at normal handheld distance away. This tablet has good anti-glare because of the matte textured surface. Now the gray of the color e-ink canvas is darker than what I would prefer. And this is darker compared to black and white e-readers because this is a color e-ink canvas. So if you want more contrast, you can increase the brightness. You can do so using the shortcuts by swiping up on the left or right of the display. And you can configure the shortcuts. Or you can swipe down from the top right and just adjust the brightness here. Overall responsiveness of the tablet is alright for an e-reader. It's not going to be as responsive compared to Android tablets with LCD or OLED displays. There is now more RAM. The increase from 4 GB to 8 GB is significant, and that really helps with multitasking. So more apps are able to retain in memory compared to the previous model with only 4 gigs of RAM, and you also have to use RAM for the OS as well. And this tablet is running on Android 14, and there is Google Play Store, so you can install whatever apps you want. You can install apps such as Libby, which will give you access to your local library so that you can borrow books for free. And you can install other ebook apps as well, such as Kindle, to give you access to all the Kindle books that you have purchased. This tablet can be used to take notes, but the note-taking and handwriting experience is not ideal because there is noticeable latency. A 7-inch tablet is portable, but this size is actually not ideal for reading comics because When reading comics or PDFs, the text cannot be adjusted, so the text will look quite small. Let's talk about other downsides. The speaker sounds hollow. Having the USB-C port here means that if you close the flip case, you will not be able to, oops, that's another downside. The magnets for the pen is strong, but it's not that strong, so if you pick up the tablet like this, there is a chance that you can push the pen in. The USB-C port is not here, so if you want to charge the tablet, you have to open the case to charge the tablet, and there is no fingerprint unlock. Battery life is about 8 to 10 hours, but that can vary a lot depending on what you are doing on the tablet. So if you are using Wi-Fi, if you are using the internet for browsing, then it's going to use more power. If you have the brightness enabled, that is going to use up more battery life as well. So this is a tablet that has some pros and cons. The page flip buttons work fine. So whether to get this tablet really comes down to what type of ebooks you want to read. If you're just reading text, you can go for a 7-inch black and white e-reader, which will give you better text quality. More specifically, the gray of the e-ink canvas will be lighter, and because of that, you will get better contrast, and also the text will be sharper. If you want to read comics, you can certainly do so, but 7-inch display size for reading comics to me is on the small side. Because you cannot adjust the text size, the text is going to look kind of small. So for me, if I read a lot of comics, I will go with a tablet that is at least 10 inches or bigger. The selling point here is, oops, this is portable, this is compact, and this is something you can hold in one hand quite easily, quite comfortably. So that is the bottom line. And now let's move on to the full review. Let's take a look at the items included in the box. This is the packaging, and there are two boxes, one with the tablet and one with the flip case. So in the boxes, you will find a flip case, the tablet, warranty card, quick start guide, this USB-A to USB-C charging cable, the pen, a nib remover, one replacement pen tip, and a SIM ejector. This flip case is an improvement over the previous flip case made for the Bigme B751C because the previous flip case actually has the pen holder attached to the front cover. So now the front cover has no pen holder because it uses this flap. So you can place the tablet on the flip case and this will snap magnetically. And you can attach this pen to the side of the tablet, close the cover, close the flap to prevent the pen from dislodging accidentally. And I would say this is actually quite secure. Now with the previous flip case, the pen holder that's attached here, it's not good. When you put the pen in, the pen can actually slip out with gravity. With this magnetic flap here, this also prevents the front cover from moving too much. This material is PU leather and it feels nice, and the flip case doesn't make the tablet too thick or too heavy. And this is the back with a cutout for the new camera. There is auto wake and sleep. Yep, so now it wakes, and you can attach this flap magnetically to the back and just fold this cover here into a triangle, and you can prop up the tablet like this. There is auto rotation for the tablet, you just have to enable it. Let's take a closer look at the pen, which is said to support wireless charging. So this may use Bluetooth. So when I enable the Bluetooth on the tablet, this tablet is not able to detect the pen, but is able to detect my wireless earphones. So this probably doesn't use Bluetooth. So no Bluetooth is needed for writing on the tablet. The pen for the previous tablet uses a AAA battery. So this wireless charging design is actually an upgrade because you can keep this together with the tablet and this will charge, so you don't have to worry about this pen ever running out of battery. Having said that, usually batteries like this can last for 6 months or longer. So this previous pen has 2 side buttons and no eraser at the back. This new pen has no side buttons and 1 eraser at the back. This pen has a matte textured surface. It's lightweight, it's not that heavy, and it's quite comfortable to hold. The pen tip is quite firm and has minimal movement when writing on the display. Now with this close-up, you can see that this display is actually not that laminated. I mean, it's laminated to a certain extent, but you can definitely see a gap between the line and the pen tip. This pen supports slightly over 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, and there is palm rejection, which works quite well. I have tested the tilt sensitivity and it doesn't work consistently. When I hold the pen vertically to draw thin lines with the pencil brush, you can see this is a broad stroke, and now we get a thin line, and now we have a broad stroke and a thin line. So tilt does not work consistently. Let's take a closer look at the design of this tablet, which looks very similar to the previous model, the Bigme B751C. So this is the color e-ink display, and the black bezels are quite thin and uniform on all 4 sides, except for this side here, which is thicker, so that you can have some space for your thumb to grip. And there are 2 side buttons which are customizable. The weight of this is 215 grams, so even with the flip case, it's not that heavy. And as you can see, this tablet is quite thin. The tablet is just 5.8 millimeter. So on this side, you can see the speaker. There's only one, and it sounds hollow, unfortunately. There's the USB-C charging port with USB 2 transfer speed. The downside of having the USB-C port here is when you put the tablet in the flip case and you close the flip case, there is no way to charge the tablet. At the bottom, we have this tray for a micro SD card and a nano SIM. This tablet supports 4G cellular. There is nothing on this side where the pen attaches, and the pen is actually thicker than the tablet. And at the top there is the power button, but there is no fingerprint unlock, and this tablet does not support face unlock either. There is one hole here for the mic, and this is probably for the mic as well. On the back we have this matte textured surface, which I'm not sure whether it's plastic or metal, and that's the new inclusion, a 5 megapixel camera, which is suitable for document scanning. But 5 megapixel is actually not that much. So when you're scanning documents, you won't be able to scan them at high resolution. And because there is no camera bump, you can put the tablet flat on the table and write, and the tablet will not wobble. This looks like a well-made tablet, and the build quality is good. Alright, let's take a look at the OS and the software and the user interface. So this is the tablet user interface with all the apps and a dock at the bottom. If you want the e-ink tablet layout, you can switch to that using settings. And now we have the different sections on the left. So this is home, meeting records, notes, library, storage, App Center, scan document, office, voice translation, cloud storage, task list. The tablet style user interface should be more familiar to most people. I don't see much bloatware. Many of the apps are actually the default apps from the company. There is WPS Office. There is Google Play Store, and this tablet is running on Android 14, by the way. Because this tablet has cellular, you can SMS and make calls, and I have installed WhatsApp, which works fine. And because there is Google Play Store, you can just install whatever apps you want. When you swipe down from the top right, you will have this control panel. So there is Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and these are the different settings. And here is where you can adjust the light, and you can use the sliders here to adjust the warm light or the cool light, or use both. or you can use the pre-programmed shortcuts for quick adjustment. And here at the bottom, you can adjust the volume. I have also configured the home screen to help me adjust the brightness by swiping on the edge. So on the right edge, I can swipe up to adjust the warm light, or swipe up here on the left edge to adjust the cool light. Oops. Yeah, sometimes when you adjust, you may accidentally activate something else. Let me try again with my left hand. Okay, it works fine now. If you download or transfer your ebooks onto this tablet, you can find them in storage, which is the file management system, or in library. In library, your files will show the thumbnail whenever possible, and they will show the file format as well. Typing experience is okay. There will be slight lag because this is, after all, an e-ink canvas. Let's look at the web browsing experience. So let's go to Bigme website. So this is the download speed. Web pages can load quite quickly. So this is the default color setting, and yeah, the scrolling animation is actually quite fast, quite responsive. So the web browsing experience is actually decent. This is default color setting. If you switch over to magazine or comic, you know what, let me just show you. To get better colors, the page flip animation is going to be, it's not good. There is a lot of flickering, so you will not want that. So let me just switch over to default, which gives you a good compromise in terms of the color and also the scrolling animation. And 7-inch is still alright for reading web pages, because the web pages will load as mobile pages, so the text will be quite big and the text quality looks good enough. Alright, let's watch some videos on this tablet. This is with the default settings, and I'm going to pause here to reduce the volume, because you can only access the volume control from the control panel. You cannot use the buttons here, which I have configured to page flip. And this is with the video color mode, where the refresh rate is much better. Now you can certainly watch videos on this tablet, but I probably won't recommend it because the visual quality isn't that great, and the audio quality is not good. The audio sounds hollow. And now let's take a closer look at this display. So this is a 7-inch e-ink color display, and it has a matte textured surface. I would say the anti-glare is quite good, as in you can see there is diffuse light, but you can still see the content on the display. The display is almost laminated. Now if you look at the left edge here, you may see cast shadow because my light source from the window is on the left, so there is cast shadow here. But if you look at the right edge, there is no cast shadow. So this would suggest to me that this display is not totally laminated. But if you look really close, you can see the e-ink, the pixels, they do look like they are on the surface, so the look is good. The gray of this e-ink canvas is darker than what I would prefer, but this is actually normal for color e-ink. If you are looking at black and white e-ink, the gray is going to be lighter, and hence there will be better contrast. But for this is actually darker, and right now my room is, I would say, bright enough, and I would usually enable some light. So let's just go with night. Just enabling some front light will actually improve the contrast quite noticeably. So this is without light, and this is with some light. So immediately the contrast looks better. The resolution for this display is 1264 by 1680, and that's the black and white resolution. For the color resolution is 632 by 840. So the DPI for color is 150 and the DPI for black and white is 300. If you look close enough, you can see some grain pattern on the e-ink canvas and also on the colors. If you look further away, the visuals actually look pretty good. I don't really see noticeable grain from normal handheld distance away. And this is how the tablet will look when the room is dark. So right now I'm using maximum cool light, and this is 50% cool light. I can see that the edge on the left side seems to be brighter, and there is some darker shade here at the bottom left. So if I increase this all the way to maximum, I can still see the darker shade here. This is a small issue for me. Let's increase the warm light. And this is with the warm and cool light at maximum. And this is only the warm light at maximum. Yeah, so other than the shade here at the bottom left, the lighting looks alright to me. So let's switch to night light. And now let's take a look at the color wheel. So this is the default color e-ink settings. Let me just refresh the page here by swiping up from the bottom right. There seems to be some issues with displaying green. And you can see the differentiation between the different hues or colors is not that obvious, especially for this part here. This whole area here seems to be the same color, and this area here. For the value, as in how light and or how dark the colors are, or how saturated or unsaturated, desaturated the colors are, I think it looks fine. Colors in the center, they are lighter, and colors on the outer edge, they are more saturated. So this, the value looks fine. It's just that the color differentiation for default settings does not look that good. Okay, so that was default, and now let's switch to magazine. By the way, when you switch to different color settings, the refresh rate will be affected as well. And now you can see the colors are more saturated, and it is now easier to differentiate the different hues, the different colors. So even for these two colors, you can see you can differentiate them. There is more green now. Green is easier to see, and the violet, you can see there is just more differentiation. Next, we'll switch to the comic mode, e-ink center to switch. And let me just refresh this again. So this also looks saturated, but compared to the magazine mode, it is a bit difficult to differentiate the different colors. So for example, here with the blue, you can see this is now almost green. And the violets here, this is just one block of violet. Yeah, so let me switch back to magazine for you to see again. So with magazine, you can actually see the different colors more easily. So you can say that there is actually less or fewer colors with comic mode compared to magazine mode. Video mode. Yeah, so this is for watching videos, but you will probably not want to watch videos on this tablet because the refresh rate is not like 60 Hz. The video will flicker basically. Okay, so with video mode, you can actually see the value is okay, as in the center is light, at the extreme edge is darker, but how should I say? The color quality isn't that good. I find it quite inconvenient to always swipe down and swipe right for the e-ink center. So another way you can access e-ink center is to tap here on the navigation bar and tap here under settings and configure one of the shortcuts here as the e-ink center. Okay, let's go back. So now with the navigation bar here, you can press once and press this for the e-ink center. So this is much faster. Once you choose the refresh mode for the app you use, that refresh mode will load automatically for the app. So if you choose, for example, comic for a comic reading app, the comic app will load comic, and if you choose default for a text reading app, default will load for the text reading app. So with the default color setting, you can see there is green in the solid colors. Edges for the text looks slightly rough, but this is still sharp enough. This is green with the green, and we have the skin tone here. This is default color setting, and that's how red looks. I have just switched over to magazine color mode. So now you can see the solid colors, they are just solid. The text may look slightly sharper, but earlier it looks fine to me. But the color quality, as you can see here, is just much better. Our skin tone is still kind of light because yellow is light. Green here looks good, blue looks good. And this is magazine mode, and we can see the solid colors. But the lighted area and the shadow area, the difference is not that obvious. And this is the comic mode with fewer colors. Now, even with fewer colors, you can see there is actually better separation for the light and the shadow area. So comic mode is actually better for reading comics well, which is not surprising. And here seems fine. There seems to be some green with the green, and maybe, no, I don't see much green with the blue, but there is slight green with the green. The blue on Ang's head is not that obvious. And this looks fine to me. There's some dry or green effect here, but overall it looks pretty good compared to default color mode. And this is the video color mode. So you can see there is again more green. The text still looks, I would say, sharp enough. More green in all the colors. Here as well, more green. And here more green, and you can see the differentiation between the light area and the shadow area. So with the different color modes, you will get different refresh rates. So this is the video refresh rate or color mode. So as I swipe the pages, you can see the page movement is actually smooth enough, but there is noticeable ghosting or image retention. You can actually see the panel from the previous page. Comic mode looks so much better. Let's swipe, and you can see the page refresh is more obvious, and the page movement is how should I say? Is it more obvious or less obvious? More obvious, because now the page is moving slower, and there is also obvious page retention. You can see the paneling from the previous page. So if you want to remove the paneling or ghosting, you can swipe up from the bottom right. So magazine color mode looks good. It actually looks pretty good. But you will lose some of the contrast. So comic will give you more contrast due to having fewer colors. You can see some retention or ghosting issues as well. Quite obvious. Yeah, very obvious actually. So with default, there is some green in the color, yes, but as I swipe the page, notice the movement is quite smooth, almost as smooth as the video color mode earlier. And image retention is not as obvious compared to magazine and comic. So if you don't mind some green, default color mode is actually quite good for reading. It's a compromise with color quality and page movement, and also with image retention or ghosting. Let's take a look at black and white comics, and this, by the way, is a 500 megabyte PDF file. So let me just flip through the pages very quickly to see whether there is any lag with page flipping with the default color mode. Oh, I can see some gradation here. Can you see that? See the gradation? Let me swipe up. Okay, it's still there. Let me tap here and change the e-ink setting from default to magazine to see if it clears up. Okay, it is probably, the gradation, the diagonal lines is probably a problem with the zoom. Anyway, with black and white, there is a limited number of grays that this tablet can produce, so there will be some limitations. Wait, what is this color mode? That's magazine. The black and white looks alright. This is black for the default mode. Let's switch over to black for the magazine mode. Maybe the quality is slightly better, just slightly better with magazine mode. And this is comic mode. So this is comic mode. Yeah, not much difference for black and white. And now let's look at text quality. This is with the default setting. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but if I look really close, I can see the grain, the diagonal grain pattern of the e-ink canvas. If I'm just holding the tablet from normal handheld distance away, I do not see the grain, or the grain is not that noticeable. The text looks sharp enough for me at default settings, so I do not need to enable magazine or comic setting for reading. And this is the magazine setting. The text is now sharper. So with magazine mode, there is obvious page movement when you flip the pages. So the gray for the e-ink canvas is still kind of dark. So if you want better contrast, you can just, increase the light. I'm just going to go with night. Just increase the light slightly will improve the contrast quite noticeably. And now let's talk about the handwriting and note-taking experience with the Bigme B7 e-ink tablet. So as I write, you can see there is some latency. As I draw this long sweeping line, you can see the line chasing the pen tip. So writing experience is alright. Oops, I accidentally tapped on the navigation bar. But I feel like when I'm writing with other tablets, those tablets are able to capture my handwriting more accurately. Those are the tools, erase, we have page addition, page template, there is OCR, text conversion. Now I did not test all the features, by the way. So under the pen tool, you can choose different types of pen, pencil, brush, ballpoint, marker, and these are the different colors. I'm going to use red because red is more obvious. So let's just write a few more lines. I wouldn't say latency is that much of an issue, but there is latency, and I know that there are people who just do not like latency. So the pen performance for writing is not, it should be 9, 10. The pen performance is not as good compared to other pens such as the Samsung S Pen, the Wacom EMR pens, or the Apple Pencil. The textured pen tip does provide some tactile experience when writing. So I would say the writing experience is serviceable. To use the eraser, you have to press down. You actually have to push the button down, like press down so that you can use the eraser, and you can customize the eraser to erase pixels, strokes, or in this case I use it as a lasso to erase an area. This app is Microsoft OneNote, and the company Bigme has actually added this global handwriting feature that lets you use other third-party note-taking apps with reduced latency. So you will see this toolbar here, and when you write, so this is Microsoft OneNote, you can see that the latency performance is actually pretty good. It's quite fast. The downside with this global handwriting feature is when you are writing, you will not see the style. It's only after you pause for a few minutes the style will apply on top of the lines. The global handwriting feature does not work with all third-party apps, and I did not test that many apps. I only tested the default note-taking app, Microsoft OneNote, and Nable. And for Nable, the latency is very noticeable, so the handwriting experience is quite bad. And this app is Concepts, which is my main sketching and drawing app. And sometimes I use this to take notes as well. So as you can see, the latency performance is not good. So the note-taking and drawing experience with this app is quite bad. Anyway, e-ink tablets are not meant for drawing, so it's not really an issue. Battery life for this tablet is around 8 to 10 hours, but that can vary quite noticeably depending on what you do with the tablet. For example, do you have Wi-Fi? Are you using the internet for web browsing? Or are you just reading? Do you have the lights on? Do you have it at maximum brightness or just at minimal brightness? Alright, to conclude, this is, I would say, a decent tablet. Now, whether to get this tablet really comes down to what type of content you consume. If you are just reading books, if you just read text, having color is actually not necessary. And you can go with black and white e-readers, which will give you better text quality, and the e-ink canvas will be lighter, less gray, and you will get better contrast with those black and white e-readers. If you read comics, I would recommend you go with a larger tablet. So 7-inch is, I would say, on the smaller side for reading comics. I wouldn't recommend 7-inch for reading comics. Get a larger 10-inch for reading comics or anything with visual content and colors. Alright, so if you guys are interested to buy this, check out the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.